Okay, this is the last part of skill 1, and we'll also use a little bit of marking up while we're going on to it. It's all about assumptions, and assumptions are missing or unstated reasons. So things that aren't in the argument that are somehow missing, but nevertheless, if they are correct, they will support my conclusion. So let's do the first things first. Out of this argument, which is the conclusion? You should bring a few pounds tomorrow. It will be fun. Well, here's an indicator word that would indicate that this is the conclusion, but there isn't an indicator word to say that this is the reason. But if I put because in front of here, because it will be fun, then you can see that you can make that, you can do that test. Okay, so let's say I wanted to underline, I should underline my conclusion, okay, then you would underline this, and let's say conventionally you would put brackets around your reasons, or reason, in this case, then it would look like this. So this is the whole thing, the whole argument completely marked up. You've got the indicator words, well, word in this case, and you've got the two components, the two argument elements. So what is an assumption in this context? Well, if somebody says to you, you should bring a few pounds tomorrow, it'll be fun, then one assumption that you have to make is that there will be something fun to spend your money on. Okay, so you've got both the elements of pounds and fun, so there must be something fun for you to spend your money on. The test that you should be doing with assumptions is called the negative test. So if it is an assumption to say that there should be something tomorrow to spend your money on that is fun, then if you turn it around, there's nothing to spend your money on tomorrow that's fun, would not support my conclusion. And you can clearly see, why should you bring a few pounds if there isn't anything fun for you to spend your money on tomorrow? But let's go on to a more obvious example. Okay, this one we've done in class, for those of you who remember it. There's a tiger behind you, you had better run. It isn't, there isn't a should or a therefore, so and not a because. So where is the conclusion? What is the conclusion and what's the reason? The conclusion, I'm sure you've spotted this already, is this bit here. What should I be doing, or what should you be doing? You'd better run. And this is the reason here. There's a tiger behind you. What do you have to assume though about this sentence in order for the conclusion to be valid? Well, that, for example, the tiger is alive. If you do the negative test and you say, okay, this is a valid assumption. If you do the negative test, then you would say the tiger is dead. If there's a dead tiger behind you, why would you have to run? So that's a valid assumption. Or, for example, it's not, and this is a bit spurious, of course, it's not tiger woods. You probably wouldn't say, like, there's a tiger behind you then. But this is the idea. So if it's not tiger woods, then the tiger behind you isn't tiger woods. You had better run. That also is valid and correct. If I do the negative test, and I'll turn this around, so it is tiger woods behind you, well, unless he's very angry and swinging a golf club at you, I don't think you necessarily would have to run. And there's many of them. So, for example, you could say the tiger is not in a cage. Tiger is not in a cage. And the negative of that would be the tiger is in a cage. Now, which one is the assumption? The assumption, remember, is the one that would support your conclusion, you'd better run. It needs to support that. So, which one is the assumption? If the tiger is in a cage, would you still have to run? The answer is no. So this doesn't support the conclusion. So therefore the conclusion is the tiger is not in a cage. And you would then have to run. If the tiger is not in a cage, you would again have to run. Okay, so the tiger is in a cage would be the negative test. So that shows you that this is a valid assumption. Now, if I said something completely random, like, why should you run? Because I like the color green. Okay, this has nothing to do with any tigers, you can see that right away, so it's a good guess that it's not a valid assumption. But I just want to show you how you can use the negative test to weed out anything that might look like an assumption but isn't. Because I like the color green, you'd better run, because there's a tiger behind you. That does not support my conclusion, okay? So turn it around. Because I don't like the color green, you'd better run. There's a tiger behind you. Again, it doesn't make any difference whether you like the color green or not, and therefore this is not a valid assumption. Okay, so final one. Let's say you should not ride your bike without lights, it's dangerous. What would be the conclusion? The conclusion, well, the indicator word for the conclusion is should in this case again. So this would be the thing to underline. You should not ride your bike without light. Why? Because it's dangerous, so that's my reason. What would be a sensible assumption to make? If somebody said this to you at that particular point in time, for example, it's dark. I nearly said it's night, but it can be dark without it being night. So it's dark. That clearly supports my conclusion. It's dangerous to ride your bike in the dark without lights. Because if it's not dark, then riding your bike without lights doesn't make that much of a difference. Okay. But if I said your bike has got a puncture, or the bike or your bike has a puncture, then is this an assumption? So I've got a flat tire. Is this an assumption? You should not ride your bike without lights. It's dangerous because your bike has a puncture. Well, that doesn't mean that doesn't support my conclusion. You should not ride your bike without light because it has a puncture. If I turn it around, your bike hasn't got a puncture. That again has no influence on the conclusion whatsoever. So this is not a valid assumption. Okay, so going back to the beginning, assumptions are missing or unstated reasons. Sometimes you can even have them without reasons at all. For example, if I said murderers should go to prison, murderers should go to prison, then you can assume that people, if they agree with it, that you can assume certain reasons. For example, murderers have done something wrong, and doing something wrong means you should go to prison. Okay, so this would just be a case of a conclusion completely without a reason that would be supported by assumptions, and you can immediately see that it's much better to have the reasons actually stated in this example, because at the moment it is more an assertion. You're just saying something and you're not backing it up. So assumptions are things to avoid if you can. Okay, thank you.